Rockstar Gang, what up? What up? Welcome to today's live stream. Welcome to the Rockstar Report. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream today. Got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about a couple topics as always. You know, it's always Carolina Panthers season here. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. We got a lot to talk about though. Let's hold the brakes. Let's pump the brakes on the receiver spending. We're going to talk more about that. The free agency game plan that I put together for this team. I think they need to go. They need to go after. Obviously, that's the contingency here of putting some kind of game plan together. In my opinion, what the Carolina Panthers should do. Obviously, they're not going to do that. We're going to talk more about the Brian Burns trade because and the whole basically what it is a $3 million dilemma is what it is. And then we're going to probably talk about, the Mike Evans, T. Higgins thing. That's going to be kind of involved with the whole pumping the brakes spending thing on the free agency wide receivers. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound the like button on your way in. And let's get right into it without further ado. Matt Chatter, you're already in here, as always. So the free agency game plan, let's address the biggest things that we need to go over with this is that this is a team that has a knack for keeping fans on the edge of their seats, right? This is what the Carolina Panthers do. Though it's not always in the most thrilling fashion, right? Obviously, we're gearing up for another offseason of rebuilding. I don't even like the word retooling, so I wouldn't even consider it retooling. It's rebuild. All right. So there's like a couple areas of need when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. And first things first is obviously wide receiver. If there's one position that the Panthers have to be eyeing longer than the time it takes a hot pocket in the microwave to get finished, it's a wide receiver, right? Because like year after year, it's been a tale of missed opportunities, drop passes, right? And then in 2023, they added DJ Chark. Whoopie-doo. Jonathan Mingo, second round pick. They got him in the mix. And let's just say the results were less than stellar, okay? Now we enter this offseason, and the Panthers once again are scouring the market for a dynamic playmaker. Obviously, the options are intriguing, like T. Higgins, like Calvin Ridley, Mr. Reliable himself, Mike Evans, potentially available, right? And we'll talk about Mr. Mike Evans here shortly because we definitely know that there could be there's a lot of talks about Dave Canales maybe being able to lure him in. Now, obviously, there's hope that this year might finally be the year that they can strike gold in certain positions, right? And obviously, wide receiver is number one. Number two, the offensive line. Obviously, we know that the Panthers' offensive line just represented a roller coaster, or more like Swiss cheese, right? Just holes everywhere. And it would be the kind that leaves you, and when I say a roller coaster, though, it would be the kind that leaves you queasy and question your life choices after you hop off. You ever been on a roller coaster like that? Every roller coaster makes me feel like that, honestly. But sure, Taylor Moton holds down the right tackle because he's the best. Probably he's the best offensive lineman we have, honestly. But what else do we have? I mean, obviously, Ike Ekwonu had a terrible sophomore season, right? They had a terrible he had a terrible sophomore slump. Okay, it is what it is, and it happens. Okay, but it's been a revolving door here in that offensive line room, and there's just so much uncertainty. So from the 6 different left guards to 7 right guards, consistency is about as common as a unicorn sighting in Charlotte, North Carolina. Because let's not forget the pressure cooker that is protecting Bryce Young. And no offense, he's built like a twig in a hurricane. Okay, sorry, it is what it is. He's not a big dude. He's just not. Hopefully hopefully he changes that offseason, and hopefully maybe he hits a growth spurt. I was told by my doctor I didn't stop growing until I was 25. So hopefully that happens for him. But depth is key. Here, folks, the Panthers got to stock up before it's too late, right? Before it's too late. Now we got the pass rusher predicament. Obviously, Brian Burns might be sticking around for another dance, but the Panthers can't rely on one man to carry the pass rushing torch. And in my opinion, you could sign for what Brian Burns want, 2 solid pass rushers and probably get more production out of them because you could probably sign 2 pass rushers that average 9 sacks a season a piece or 10 sacks a piece for the price of Brian Burns. So that's my other statement about that, which we'll talk more about that situation here a little bit further. But with the Burns potentially, whether being on the team, being franchise tag, traded, right? The real question here is, will he show up to the party or will he pull a no-show like it's the cool thing to do? Regardless, the Panthers need reinforcements off the edge as well. They need them yesterday. And an anemic pass rusher, not an anemic pass rusher, sorry, an anemic pass rusher led to measly sack totals and basically 11 takeaways. I mean, the numbers that really even a math challenge fan knows it's a spell for disaster. All right, time to beef up that defensive line. Give opposing quarterbacks something to even sweat about. I mean, and I think that's part of what Dan Morgan's talking about with bringing dogs in, right? And wanting that keep pounding narrative here and making teams not want to travel to Charlotte to play this team. And obviously, there's another one. The cornerback conundrum, right? The tale of all tales, though, is J.C. Horn there, right? He's more elusive than a leprechaun with a pot of gold, all right? When he's on the field, the Panthers defense is playing like someone singing a Grammy winning award song, right? But injuries have plagued his time and leaving our secondary in a constant state of, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So even with Horn in the lineup, the Panthers still need depth there. And even if Dante Jackson is still here, they still need depth and stability in the cornerback department. Especially if one or even both go down. There's still that potential there. It still sits in the back of my mind whether these guys are going to be, can stay healthy or not. But with veterans potentially hitting that free agent market, the salary cap considers looming large. It's a puzzle that we need to solve before kickoff. I can tell you that. And there's just a lot going on here. They need to move Icky to guard this year, D Cash says. I mean, I could see it. I definitely could see it. Only time will tell in that aspect of things. So, guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound the like button, get in the comment section, share the live, do what you do best, and that's supporting the channel. So, all right, get in the chat. Feel free to join the chat. I appreciate it. So let's move on to the next topic here. The curious case of Jeremy Chinn, right? This is a time of reflection, speculation, the internal question, should they stay or should they go, right? For the Panthers this year, the conundrum comes in the form of Jeremy Chinn. I would say another defensive conundrum, whose role seemed more elusive than Bigfoot riding a unicorn. Let's rewind the tape a little bit, though. Think about that. All right. Dissect the saga of Chinn's time with the Panthers. Again, another roller coaster ride of promise, confusion, the occasional frustration. Drafted in 2020 as I guess you could say as a linebacker in disguise, almost. Because even though he's a safety and he plays the safety position, should have stayed and they should have kept him at the safety position, in my opinion. And that's the reason why he's in the situation that he's in now, because the coaches chose to move him around, and he should have just been in stayed at the safety position. And there was no reason for the Panthers, I still think to this day, to sign Von Bell and get him. But Chinn, of course, burst onto the scene in that 2020 after the 2020 draft, and dazzled us fans and with his versatility and playmaking skills. But as the season wore on, the Panthers shuffled Chinn around like a pawn on a chessboard, trying to fit him into a role they never quite seemed to suit his set. Put him in the nickel, right? Put him in the dime, right? But you bring in Evero, who's this mastermind of this defensive system, right? Who promises this whole new exciting chapter for Chinn. And obviously one that left everyone scratching their heads. But you put this guy in the nickel, you put him in the dime, and Chinn finds himself really unsure. And who could blame him, right? It was like trying to decipher the plot of a M. Night Somalian movie, right? Full of twists, turns, but ultimately leaving you more confused than enlightened, right? But that's the first time I've seen D Cash in here too, Marcos. I appreciate you putting that up there. We're gonna star this. Marcos, I love that you always put this one. We're gonna pin that message up there. I like that. I like that what you always put in the chat. I appreciate that. We got King Jermaine in here. I'm gonna get to y'all's comments, I promise. So y'all comment, I'll get to your comments. Any questions you have, I'll get to them. I promise. Just make sure you pound the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the live out. It helps out this channel tremendously. It's clear with Chinn by now. Dude can't play pass coverage, especially in a 3-4 defense. Yeah, it just didn't fit. It doesn't make sense. But obviously, as the 2023 season unfolded, Chinn found himself in a relegated, to diminish diminished a role. And you watch the games, right? And as his snap count dwindled and his frustration mounted, what was Evero's explanation? We never really got that, I felt. He basically, he did kind of say something about it was a tactical decision, obviously, to bolster up the rush defense. So, and then leaving Chinn on the bench more often than not. But here's the $1 million question, though. It comes down to this, guys. But here's the $1 million question of Jeremy Chinn. Should Chinn stay or should he go? Because on one hand, he's shown flashes of brilliance, but then proving he's more than capable of making an impact on the field. On the other hand, you got Evero's inability to unlock his full potential leaves him a lingering sense of doubt. Now, he's projected for a 1-year, $3 million deal, prove it deal on the table, and the Panthers face a pivotal decision. Do they roll the dice and give Chinn another shot, hoping Evero can work his magic in year 2? Or do they cut ties and they move on, casting Chinn in the abyss of free agency? The ball's in your court, right? The ball's in your court, Panther, the front office. Do you trust Evero to turn Chinn into a defensive juggernaut, or is it time to bid farewell to what could have been the stage set? The spotlight is shining. Obviously, it's your call, Panthers front office. Evero probably saw that snow saw on Chinn. I know. Clay, you want me to block Cash or you want him to stay? Cash is fine, Mad Chatter. I'm about to block you is what's about to happen. I'm about to block you. How about that? How about that? All right, let's get into this little situation here. All right, this is a $3 million dilemma. Okay? That's what this is. This is a $3 million dilemma. All right, this contract dispute between the Panthers and Brian Burns is basically what it is. It's a $3 million dilemma. So in a high stakes world of NFL contract negotiations, every dollar counts. Every dollar counts. But when Dcash, my name is Clay. Obviously, if you see my thing, it says Clay Ropp across there. Okay. So it says Clay Ropp, Roppstar Report, at Roppstar92. That's all my social media. Yeah. There you go. I don't see Clay. It's like, I'm right here. I'm right here. That's funny. All right. Here we go. Okay, so again, when the Carolina Panthers, let's start it off with this. When the Carolina Panthers star linebacker Brian Burns obviously squared off over the terms of his potential new deal. And it wasn't just dollars at stake. It was a $3 million difference that separated them. Right? The Panthers were willing to dish out a hefty price. All right. A hefty price here. $27 million per year to retain Burns' services. However, Burns has his sight on even something higher, aiming for that cool $30 million annually. And it's a classic case of almost there, but not quite. And it's reminiscent of reaching that last slice of pizza to only find it's been snatched away from you. So if Burns had the ink the Panthers offered, if he would have inked in what the Panthers offered, he'd be swimming in cash, becoming the league's third highest paying pass rusher. That's an elite company rubbing shoulders like of Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, Joey Bosa, right there in the mix too. But the $3 million gap was like a canyon separating Burns from his desired destination of a financial nirvana. Okay? Now, as the Panthers ponder this next move, the franchise tag looms large like a dark cloud on this horizon. All right? Valued at nearly $23 million for a linebacker in 2024. It's a hefty price tag that could keep Burns in Carolina for at least another year. The drama continues to unfold to this whole, basically, this is like a Netflix series, and with each episode leaving viewers on the edge of their seats. You ever watch a Netflix series like that? That's basically what this chaos is here with the Brian Burns saga. But in the midst of this whole Brian Burns saga, too, he took it to Twitter. He sent a cryptic message signaling his desire to remain in Charlotte. Just put keep pounding ... with white heart and a blue heart. This is a plot twist in a narrative that where the protagonist professes their undenying loyalty amidst the turmoil and uncertainty. So yet with the possibility of a tag and trade scenario hanging in the air, the plot thickens. Enter the potential suitors, lining up like eager contestants on a game show. Each trying to get their shot at acquiring Burns and for his services. But I think the Ravens, who are known for knack for snatching up defensive gems, could be someone for the tag and trade scenario. The Detroit Lions, who are obviously hungry for a defensive powerhouse to complement them, they could be also a trade case. They got a rising star there in Aiden Hutchinson. The list of interesting parties reads like who's who of the NFL franchises on the hunt for this talent. But let's not forget the Los Angeles Rams. Every organization is pretty persistent in their pursuit for defensive dominance in this league, or offensive dominance, whichever case they decide to go. Or the Philadelphia Eagles seeking redemption after a disappointing season. And of course, San Francisco and Seattle definitely lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce on that opportunity to add to that defensive arsenal. Obviously, the Panthers and the Burns are going to weigh their options here. Both sides are. And Burns is going to bide his time. This obviously. Will Burns stay? Will he go? Only time will tell. The only thing is for sure the $3 million dilemma has turned what could have been a routine contract negotiation into where it's a gripping saga with twists and turns at every corner. Now, I'm not done with Mr. Brian Burns here. There's something else that I need to get off my chest with this whole thing, because I kind of got it off my chest when it came to that video I made. I made that video yesterday. Well, the Brian Burns thing has been a hot topic, honestly, for over the past 16 months. Let's be honest. This whole thing has been going on for the past 16 months. And honestly, I said it before and I'll say it again in my part 1, part 2 series on my short that I posted yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. But I posted a 1-part, 2-part series, I think, or maybe a 3-part series on this Brian Burns thing. But I'm going to give it to you in full depth here, straightforward. Like I said, this has been a hot topic for the past 16 months. But like I said before, it's been going on a lot further than that since Scott Fitter, or should I say Scott Shitter, our ex-dumbass GM, got a significant offer from the Los Angeles Rams that offered us 2 first-round picks. Now, they offered us a 2023 first round and a 2024 first round, right? And at the time, that would have been this past draft and then this year's draft, and then an extra second-round pick in this year's draft. So Scott Fitter chose to not go with that at the trade deadline. Failed to get a long-term deal with Burns then they failed to get a long-term deal done last summer. So then Burns' productions dip, right? Well, why did Burns' production dip? Was it because, he was scared to play hurt because he's going on a contract year? Or was it that he didn't want to play he kind of just checked out because he knew this team wasn't going to make the playoffs? Was he secretively hurt behind the scenes? I think that I think Brian Burns went about it right. He said, I'm going to, he's going to still play. He was still professional about it. I'll give him that. He still played. But it just didn't seem like it was the normal Brian Burns out there. And part of me thinks that if you're going to play, you need to play at 100%. Like, if you choose to play, even though you're on this contract year, you play to play for the money. You're playing for that contract. If you want that big contract, I feel that you should be putting all the effort in to prove to me that you deserve a $30 million contract. Not put up 9 sacks that you've done for the past 3 years and only have had 1 year with double-digit sacks. That makes no sense to me. If you're going to, it's like anything you do for your job, right? Like, I do this part-time. Like, obviously, I post every day, but this is not my full-time job. But I still give you 100%. Same thing with my other job. So in the end, now he's set to become a unrestricted free agent in March. And the Panthers will have until March 5th to place him on the franchise tag. Now, the Panthers could use the non-exclusive tag on Burns. They could, which would allow him to deal with other teams and give the Panthers the rights to match that offer sheet or receive, draft compensation. Now, the Burns will be considered a linebacker if he is tagged, because as he lined up as an outside linebacker last season. But there would be a market for Burns in a tag trade scenario. He's also was ranked number 1 among all free agents by the Athletics' Randy Mueller. But here's the thing for me, all right? And I said it on Twitter. I was all over on Twitter, and some people were getting, agree with me. Some people didn't, right? All right, some people didn't. But here's the thing for me. His value dipped since Fitterer rejected those 2 first-round picks in a future second round. He's not worth $30 million a year. We offered him a very, very fair deal, in my opinion. Actually, I think we would be overpaying him 5 years over 5 years, $27 million per year. I think he's worth between $22 to $24 million at best. You know, I've got a master's in ball knowledge. Okay, a player averaging 9 sacks a year isn't worth it. Okay. Another thing is that our fan base, I feel, is a little bit delusional when it comes to this team. Because sometimes I feel like our fans here in Carolina are either fans of the team or just, a player, or are you just a player's fan? Especially when it comes to certain players, and Brian Burns, for example. Again, Brian Burns is good, but he is not elite. He's not worth $30 million. Do I want him in Carolina? Sure. But we can't afford him because he wants $30 million. And I told y'all this before, and I'll tell you again. I called it. The tag and trade scenario will be coming. I guarantee you. Because for a player who's seeking $30 million a year, didn't even break the top 10 in pass rush this past year. Didn't even break the top 10. But people still think that he's a top 5, top 6 pass rusher. But again, the stats say otherwise. Again, Burns is not elite. He's not. He's not even close to Myles Garrett. He's not even close to TJ Watt. He's not even close to Max Crosby. I like Brian Burns as a player. I'm not hating on Brian Burns. I just don't think he's worth $30 million. I just don't think he's worth $30 million. Cash, I honestly would rather keep Luvu and Brown too. I think you can sign. You're gonna probably end up signing Brown for a big time contract. Luvu, you'll have a cheaper contract than Burns. And with the draft, with the amount of draft picks we have, I think that we need to make a trade to bolster up that draft capital. And I think that's where, Burns comes into play. Facts, rather keep Luvu. They also offered a second round with that. I know that. I know. I thought it was a future third, but then I reread it and it was a future second. And I was like, Jesus. Because then right now, guys, the whole Bryce Young trade wouldn't be so bad if we would have made the trade with LA for Brian Burns. And even if we would have made all the other trades, we would have more draft capital. And we wouldn't be in such a shit situation because we would still have a first round pick this year and we would have had an extra second round pick this year. But I don't know. If we would have made that trade, they might have even, who knows what the Bears would have got out of us. Yeah, I mean, $27 million is definitely overpaying for Brian Burns. His market value, even on Spot Tracker right now, is at 23. So, like I said, 22 to 24. I've been saying that. I've been saying that Brian Burns is worth 22, 24. Spot Tracker's got his market value at 23.15 or 23.5, something like that. If he knew he wanted, if he knew he wanted 30 million, he should have showed his ass every game. I know. Folks ignore Burns' piss poor PFF run defense grades. They also see his sack numbers. I mean, his sack numbers aren't even elite, though. His solo tackles, nothing was even in the top 10 that he did last year. Like his numbers wise, I don't even think any of them broke the top 10 from a PFF standpoint. Now, some of what PFF is, their grading is a little wild for me because I've been noticing some of the gradings that they do. It's a little interesting to me. I think they definitely know ball over there. I just wouldn't go as far to say that they're completely right, but you know, but again, at the end of the day, Brian Burns is it's not elite. Those grades are not elite. Yeah, I mean, no, and they're not. They're not even close. You're not even close. He didn't even break the top 10 this past year in pass rush. So again, if we take a hit 1 year, I mean, we're in rebuild mode anyways. So people are like, well, our pass rush is going to suck. Well, guess what? We're in rebuild mode. Everything's going to suck for the next 2 to 3 years. It ain't going to make a difference if we lose a Brian Burns. At least we don't let him walk like Julius Peppers and we get some kind of value out of him. It's better to get value out of a player than just let him walk and then you get nothing in return. That is my point. We're in full rebuild mode. So what are we even arguing about here? Yeah, we're going to suck on pass rush. We already suck. We went 2-15 last year. I think if we're gonna do this rebuild right, we need to do it the right way and bring in, get the draft capital and fill. And again, with $30 million, like I said, you could get two guys. I guarantee you that average around 9 sacks a year for $30 million. You could sign them both for both $15 million contracts. Guarantee you. Again, we're in rebuild mode, so the future is more important right now than I think signing a guy for another 5 years. Because it's going to take 2 to 3 years to fully rebuild this team. You know what I mean? So, in the end, that's my opinion on everything, on the whole Brian Burns situation. Some people like it, some people don't. Yeah, I mean, it just makes more sense to me. And it's not like, our offensive line is, I mean, building within the trenches, building around Derek Brown, to me, and I'm not even going to mention Luvu into this, building around Derek Brown to me makes more sense. Building our offensive line up. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for Bryce Young because, right, there's uncertainty there. But we need to build up our defensive line and our offensive line. Why do you think Alabama is so good for so many years? Because they were able to recruit their offensive line, defensive line, right? They were able to get the best recruits. But they went after those guys and then would go get 3-star, 4-star quarterbacks and win national championships. It's kind of the same thing in the NFL. You can run that same concept and build an offensive line that protects your quarterback, get a defensive line that can stop the run and get to the quarterback. And you could have average players elsewhere. Now, it might be a little too far with average, but that is my mindset. My mindset is to build within the trenches. And I think that's how you win in the NFL too. I think you build a team up within the trenches. Because if you can get to the quarterback and you can stop the run, you're going to win a lot of football games. If you can protect your quarterback to give him time to throw the ball and make plays and reads, you're going to win a lot of football games. I mean, this is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's just like Dan Morgan said, getting those dogs in here. Getting those dogs in here. Yeah, of course, the scheme, and having good coaching and development definitely helps for sure. But talent too helps. You got to be able to have the right talent to do so. And there's more to it. I know I'm sounding pretty basic right now, but again, this team's got to look towards the future right now, and I'm not willing to look towards the future. Fans hated Gettleman in Carolina, but his formula was right though. Hog, exactly. It's a perfect example. It's a perfect example. That's a perfect example, JP. I don't know. Like I said, I was all over Twitter yesterday, and I was calling people fools and delusional, and I just don't. I get the hype around, and maybe I shouldn't call people and attack them that way, and it really wasn't meaning to be that way. But in the end, we're in full rebuild mode. We need all the draft capital we can get. We need all the cap space we can get to rebuild this team for the next 2 to 3 years. This is not. We've done too much of retooling. We need to rebuilding, and it's time to rebuild within the trenches and work our way out. Right? I don't like the idea of letting Burns walk, but $30 million is way too much. I mean, Panther Raider X, they won't have to let him walk. That not necessarily will let him walk. They'll end up letting him. Like I said, I think it's going to be a franchise tag and trade scenario. I really do. Because I don't think they're going to do an exclusive tag where that gives him a chance to shop himself around, and then they don't match it, and then he goes away, and then there's nothing we can do. I just hope that Adam comes in and says, I just hope the O-line and receivers play better because they can't get any worse. Well, Adam, I just hope they bolster up the offensive line and the wide receiver group. That's what I hope they do. Playing better, yeah, that will come, but I need them to add some depth and talent in those positions. You know what I mean? But yeah, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. You have a problem at the wide receiver position when you got a 33-year-old Adam Thielen basically being your wide receiver one. You have a problem when your quarterback is only looking for Adam Thielen. Everybody keeps blaming Bryce for the fact that he only looked for Adam Thielen. But how come Adam Thielen was the only guy that was seemed to find his way open? Did anybody ever think about that? Anybody ever think about that? How come he seemed to find his way open? How come he was able to put up 1,000 yards last year in this offense, but nobody else seemed to be able to get open? And then DJ Chark at the final 2 to 3 games, 4 games finally showed up. Yeah, and we broke down game film. There was multiple times that Bryce missed some guys open. But there was multiple times, though, too, where there was nobody open. But we also had guys dropping passes. It's a list of things in that aspect. We ain't going to get in all of that because, I'll be on a rant for hours. And I'll be pulling up my receipts because I got receipts for every game film we watched. I got receipts. Y'all remember me making my tally sheets and taking notes? I got receipts. So trust me. I remember this shit. So that's why we watch game film, folks. All right. Let's get into this. So far, so good. We got to pump the brakes on this wide receiver thing. I get it. T. Higgins. Obviously, he's going to be a pricey proposition. Okay. There's no denying Higgins' potential that he could help this Panthers offense, right? 6'4", 219, that prototypical number 1 wide receiver that, any NFL team loves. And obviously he would be beneficial to Bryce Young. He's shown flashes of resilience alongside Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase there in Cincinnati. And he's shown that he can be a force to be reckoned with. All right. There's also the price tag predicament with him, though. Okay. Because here's the catch. Literally and figuratively, that price tag. Acquiring Higgins will not be cheap, folks. All right. with the Bengals potentially looking to prioritize their cap space for other stars like Burrow and Chase, Higgins could hit that open market. However, that doesn't mean he'll come at a bargain. Okay. So that means that the Panthers must weigh the cost of signing Higgins against their broader needs and financial constraints, right? Another thing is the tag and trade troubles. That complicates the matter even further. All right. There's the looming possibility of the Bengals tagging and trading Higgins. In this scenario, the Panthers would not even have to shell out a hefty contract, but also sacrifice precious draft capital. So that's also a problem. See? So is Higgins worth the investment, or are the Panthers better off exploring other options? That's a good question. All right. You got this offense in overhaul, though, right? Let's not forget the big picture here. The Panthers offense, it was in disarray last season, right? So you got Higgins. I know that Higgins would undoubtedly provide a much needed boost to this team. He is not the end all be all, though. Okay. All right. To address the issues that we need to address across the board here is that the Panthers have to resist their urge to put all their eggs in one basket and get Higgins, right? So I think another thing is finding the right fit, right? Higgins has put up respectable numbers, okay? 656 yards, 5 touchdowns, 11 games. But can he replicate that success in Carolina's system? I think the Panthers must consider how Higgins' skill set aligns with their offense, okay? And whether he's that missing piece or whether he fits the scheme or not, okay? The Mike Evans thing, okay? Obviously, we know that there's a lot of talk about Mike Evans coming here because of Dave Canales, okay? Can Dave Canales lure a Mike Evans? Do we want to bring in a guy like Mike Evans, right? I think that the thing is here is that we need to talk about that. I know this is a rumor, okay? I know this is a lot of rumors here, but we know that we're crying for help here in this wide receiver position. This whole fan base is. If there's one thing that the Panthers have made abundantly clear to all of us fans, it's that their desperate need for offensive firepower. We got a rookie quarterback, right? Or second year, I guess you could consider second year quarterback at the helm. And a rookie season that left us much desire to see more and see if this kid actually can play in the NFL. We are in dire need of a bona fide wide receiver one, right? So what it comes down to is then you enter in Mike Evans, who's a guy who's a proven playmaker, consistently has a 1,000-yard season in every season of his career. He's a blue chip talent for sure. That could definitely transfer the Panthers offense overnight. That's the key word there. Okay? That is the key word there. Overnight is the key word in that saying. Because here is the thing. What sets the Panthers apart from the pack is that Canales' previous relationship with Evans during his time in Tampa Bay. Now, ESPN's Matt Bowen pointed out that, and I'm looking at it right now, pointed out that Evans thrived under Canales' guidance. And that's basically what Matt Bowen pointed out in his article. But basically, Mike Evans racked up over 1,200 yards and a league-leading 13 touchdown catches in the same offensive system. Right? Great. All right. Now, money talks, but relationships seal deals. Of course, the elephant in the room is the Mike Evans contract, all right, and his demands. We have very limited cap space. And as the saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way, and the Panthers seem to be determined to make it work. Now, with Brent Hillis leading the charge, on the financial front. The Panthers are exploring every avenue to free up cap space, make compelling offers. I think not only to Mike Evans, but to others. And after years of mediocrity and mismanagement, I think they're ready to go. I hope they aren't going to go all in to secure him. Okay. He is a game-changing talent, but he does not need to be. I just don't think his age fits the narrative here. Again, we are in full rebuild mode. We are looking into the future for the next 2 to 3 years. The thing is that there's a crucial factor here, and that is, does Mike Evans believe in the Canales and the vision of this team? Because I think Mike Evans wants to go to a contender, right? But that's why I say pump the brakes on the wide receiver spending, okay? Because there are a few things that we need to do instead that we need to be looking at. And that's talk about let's start with the most glaring truth, okay? Protect Bryce Young. That is priority number one. We know that that's what priority number one is, okay? After enduring a baptism by fire in his rookie season, Young needs more than just flashy receivers, okay? He needs an offensive line that can keep him upright, right? The Panthers can't afford to repeat past mistakes. Again, another thing, Rome wasn't built in a day. Sure, the Panthers need help at receiver, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and the roster will still need to be built. You're coming off a 2-15 season, folks. The Panthers have more holes than Swiss cheese. I've said it before. So fixing everything in one season is like trying to build a skyscraper with toothpicks. Okay, it's just not realistic. Okay, it's not going to happen. The allure of free agency. Yes, it's tempting to chase after those top free agents like Mike Evans and T. Higgins. The reality is that Carolina's recent struggles may dampen their appeal to even come here, too. And let's face it, you would have to sign a multi-year deal with a team mirrored in mediocrity. Probably not. They're not going to go for that. Even Evans' connection to Canales may not even be enough to sway him this way. I don't want Mike Evans. Too old for me. He will be 30 years old or turning 30 years old at the beginning of the season. We're in rebuild mode. Again, rebuild. Everybody in this chat and everybody who watches me, listen to my words. And if you got to write it on a sticky note and put it on the forehead and put Carolina's Panthers are in rebuild mode. Signing a 30-year-old wide receiver. Yes. Is he going to go? Is he one of the best wide receivers we've seen in our generation? Probably in the past 20 years? Sure. But he's also old, and he's also getting old. The Panthers have to focus on the draft instead of swinging for the fences in free agency. Okay. With limited draft capital, making a big splash in free agency could leave them scrambling into filling other holes. But they can find value and potential in the draft without breaking the bank. The whole point here, guys, is that you got to play the long ball. Because ultimately what needs to happen is that the Panthers have to play the long ball to build a contending team, right? Patience. Intelligent decision making by prioritizing and protecting your quarterback, taking a measured approach to receiver spending. So take a measured approach to receiver spending, and the Panthers can lay the foundation of sustained success. So for all you Panthers fans, I need you to take a deep breath. Trust the process. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor the Panthers' path to greatness will be either. But patience, prudence, a keen eye for talent, the future could look bright. I feel that. I feel that too, Panther Raider. Actually, definitely deserves that. I'm not even sure if Higgins is a wide receiver one, honestly, yet. You can make the case that he is. You can make the case that he's not. But he's also been in the shadows of Jamar Chase. And injuries have also affected that a little bit. So, it's tough to say. I'm going to take more than just one wide receiver, in my opinion. Most thumbs down. I didn't even do that. Full thumbs down. Where's the laser show? Do I get a laser show? There we go. All right, cool. That's awesome. I love that thing. Gonna take more than just wide receiver one wide receiver, in my opinion. Most teams are at least three wide receivers deep in talent. Yeah, I think if we go after a guy like Marquise Brown, again, I've seen his market value where you could get him for 1 year, $12.5 million. Maybe bring in a guy like Donovan, like y'all were talking about the other day, Donovan Peoples-Jones, just for bringing depth purposes, or bringing in a guy like who else were y'all saying the other day? Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who else was the other guy y'all were talking about? I mean, unless y'all want to bring back Curtis Samuel. There's other cheaper options out there, right? Because there's free agent wide receivers that are definitely on the cheaper option. McCold Hardman, right? Tyler Boyd. You could bring those guys in. McCold, I would also look, Calvin Marquise Brown, I think would also be great. You also got Ray McLeod out there. Someone told me Chase Claypool the other day. I'm like, I would not bring Chase Claypool to Carolina. Just trying to see who else would be interesting to bring in. Devin Duvernay, I would look into bringing him just because of how fast he is. He's got some speed. I think you could get Gabe Davis for a cheap price. He's just too inconsistent for me. Jawan Jennings is another guy. Darnell Mooney is another guy. Let's see who else. Quez Watkins, maybe. Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, there's some young guys out there that we could definitely bring in for cheaper options. I'm just saying. His older wide receiver too, and I don't want him either. Yeah, I wouldn't want him either. I mind Gabe Davis myself. Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely options out there, right? There's definitely options. It just comes down to what we can afford, what happens in the next shit. I mean, we got till the 27th, I think, right? I think the 27th is when we really can start hammering the free agency out, and hopefully we'll start getting some news on whether who the Panthers cut, who they are going to re-sign, and then who they're going to try to go after, and maybe restructure some contracts, and a whole list of things, right? We shall see. We shall see. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Got some more. I got some shorts coming your way, guys. I'll have some shorts coming out here shortly. No pun intended there. Of course, you just need to do these 3 things for me. So that's it. That's all I ask. Like, subscribe, click that post notifications bell, and always leave a comment. Love to hear y'all's thoughts. Feel free to join the Discord. That link tree is down below in the description of this live stream. Also, feel free to follow me on all my social media, and don't forget about our sponsorship, BetUS, BetUS.com. I'm sorry, not BetUSA, BetUS.com. That's the sponsorship of every live stream, so make sure you go check them out. All right, and then of course the Discord and all the social media. Okay, so make sure you go check it out. Make sure you pound the like button. That's the best thing you can do. And as always, guys, keep pounding. Peace.